What's up, guys? Today is going to be another fun Elixir Getting Started guide day. We are doing the Sigils section of the Elixir Getting Started guide, so that'll be a lot of fun. And chat is working, so that's cool to see. I guess we'll jump right in, huh? I'm going to just open up Safari. I gotta share my screen. Oh, I do. So I just did something pretty cool today. I started using the Discord events. You know, you can like create events that tells you when they're starting. You can put links in there. What's up, Polar Bear? I tapped into the Discord API and I created an events page on Elixir Mentor. So that's really cool. Oh, and also, guys, I have a 4th of July special 40% off my Elixir course. Just use code Fireworks40. And if you stick around, maybe at the end of this, I'll give you a secret code for 45% off. We'll see. I don't know. But so this is my schedule right now. So everything I add to events in Discord will show up right here. I think that's pretty cool. And then you can just tap on it and it will open the YouTube link. I think that's cool. I just thought of it this morning and decided to implement it because I thought it'd be fun. All right, so Elixir Lang. Let's go to the guides and hit up the Sigils section. All right. Sigils. Elixir provides double-quoted strings as well as a concept called charlists, which are defined by the -c and then a string in between double quotes, and that's the sigil syntax. So whenever you see the tilde and a letter, that's sigil syntax. In this chapter, we will learn more about sigils and how to define our own. One of Elixir's goals is extensibility. Extensibility. Developers should be able to extend the language to fit any particular domain. Sigils provide the foundation for extending the language with custom textual representations. Sigils start with the tilde character, which is followed by either a single lowercase letter or one or more uppercase letters, and then a delimiter. Optional modifiers are added after the final delimiter. All right, so regular expressions. So the most common sigil in Elixir is the regex, so -r, which is used to create regular expressions. So let's go ahead and pop open our terminal. I'll make this a little bigger. And we're going to start our IEX shell. And we'll create a variable called regex and bind that to our -r. And then we're just doing /foo, cons operator bar, /. All right, and then I'm going to hit enter. And now what we can do is we can just see if a string is contained in our regex expression by using the match operator tilde. So we can say foo and then match operator =, so and then tilde and now our regex, and we should get true back because foo is contained in that. So there you go. And then if we do something that isn't there, we'll get a false back. Oh, I forgot to. How do I get out of that? Okay, I forgot a double quote. And then we'll get a false back when it's not contained. All right, so Elixir provides Perl compatible regular expressions regexes as implemented by the PCRE library, Regexes also support modifiers. For example, the I modifier makes a regular expression case sensitive. All right, so let's check this out. Back to the terminal. So if we say hello, and then we want to see if it is contained in our regular expression, we can do r/hello/ and hit enter. And it is false because we are looking for a capital strings, right? But then if we include I afterwards, it is just going to match. It's not going to be case sensitive. So we get true back. Cool. So check out the regex module for more information on other modifiers and the supported operations with regular expressions. All right, so here's a whole section on regex, and I'm not going to lie, I struggle with regular expressions all the time. So every time I need them, I need to look up how to write them over and over. It's just something that is never retained in my brain, but here you go. You can go through the regular expressions documentation here. Lots of good stuff. Cool. Maybe one day we'll go through all this and I'll get better at regular expressions. Get out of here. Okay. So far, all examples have used the / to delimit a regular expression. However, Sigils support 8 different delimiters. All right, cool. So it supports /, the cons operator, double quote, single quote, parentheses, square brackets, curly braces, and the left and right arrows. I forget what these are called. Don't quiz me. Don't quiz me, bro. So, all right, cool. The reason behind supporting different delimiters is to provide a way to write literals without escaped delimiters. For example, a regular expression with / like this reads arguably better than this. I'm just going to type this out because this is all right. Let's try this again. Okay, so it supports all these delimiters because this is easier to read because we're putting it in parentheses, right? And then we're doing the, I forgot what this one is too. Help me out, guys. Who's listening? Hey, Randy, Wasim, welcome, guys. What is this? Is that the escape operator? Well, anyways, HTTPS. And then we have this. So using parentheses is obviously easier to read here than writing it out the way it just returned the regular expression. So it's just for us, right? So we can write this, we can read this, and then the regular expression actually looks like that. All right. Strings, charlists, and word list sigils. Besides regular expressions, Elixir ships with 3 other sigils. Strings. So we have the string sigil, ~s, is used to generate strings like double quotes are. So the ~s sigil is useful when a string contains double quotes. All right, back to the terminal. I'm going to clear this so it just comes up to the top. All right, so we can do something like this, ~s, and then instead of using double quotes, we can put it inside of parentheses or any delimiter, right? So this is a string with double quotes, not single ones. All right, and then when I hit enter, all right, so you'll see that it has the escape character here in front of our double quotes. And it also put and it did that because our whole string is within double quotes. So that's how it knows that that's not where, like this string would end here without the escape character there. All right, cool. And charlist. So sigil C is the regular way to represent charlists. All right, so if we go back into our terminal And we just make a list here with our code points, which is what the question mark is. So that, A, and T. And then when I hit enter, we get a charlist cat back. And we can represent this the same way we can do if we wrote sigil C. This is a char list containing double quotes, okay? And then when we close it off, we're going to get the same thing back as we did for our string, but as a char list. So we get the sigil C, and then we have our double quotes on either side. And then obviously the inner ones get the escape character. So they are there. Man, I'm clicking all over the place. And then we also have word lists. So we have the W sigil, which is used to generate lists of words. Words are just regular strings inside the tilde W. So the W sigil words are separated by white space. So if we do tilde W or W sigil W, and we just are inside of parentheses, if we have 3 words separated by a space, we will get our list back. So we get our word list back with each word as a separate value. All right, the W sigil also accepts the C, S, and A modifiers for charlists, strings, and atoms, respectively, which specify the data type of the elements of the resulting list. All right, cool. That's pretty neat. See, I'm learning all this stuff because I mean, honestly, I don't really dive into, like, if I don't have a specific need, I rarely would learn about sigils, right? So if we just throw an A at the end here, now we're going to get a list back of atoms. So that's really cool. What were the other ones? We got to try them all. Charlists. Let's just throw a C on there. We already got our string back. So that's pretty neat. Pretty cool. All right. Interpolation and escaping in string sigils. Hey, what's up, Leandro? Nice to have you here. So interpolation and escaping in string sigils. Elixir supports some sigil variants to deal with escaping characters and interpolation. In particular, uppercase letters sigils do not perform interpolation nor escaping. For example, although both sigil lowercase s and sigil uppercase s will return strings, the former allows escape codes and interpolation while the latter does not. All right, this is cool. So let's go ahead and run these examples. So when we use a lowercase sigil s, our escape codes are going to be printed in a readable format, right? So we're going to be able to use escape characters and interpolation. So if we say string with escape codes, and then if we do this \x26, we should get the ampersand back, right? And then we can also interpolate and pass in a string with concatenation in between and combine 2 letters. So we can say enter, and then we can do the concatenation operator here, and then pullation. That's cool. And then when we hit enter, we're going to just get a readable string back. So we get our ampersand, and then we just get the word interpolation. So that's pretty nifty. But now when we do this with a capital S, we're going to get the escape characters back like so. So there we go. So it's a little more unmodified. So if you need to know what escape characters are in a string, you could use the capital letter, right? I think that's pretty cool. So the following escape codes can be used in strings and char lists. We have the double backslash, which is a single backslash. And then we have the bell alert, which is \A, a backspace, which is \B, \D is delete, \E is escape, \F is form feed, \n is new line. You probably use that one quite a bit. \r is carriage return. \s is space. \t is tab. \v is vertical tab. \0 is a null byte. \x capital DD represents a single byte in hexadecimal, such as \x13. And then we have \u quadruple Ds and \u and then a D ... between two curly braces, which represents a Unicode code point in hexadecimal, such as, so inside of those curly braces, throw your hexadecimal value. In addition to those, a double quote inside a double quoted string needs to be escaped as \double quote, which we already saw in our strings. And oh my gosh, guys, analogously, that's horrible. I should have, see, this is why I should read these things before I go live. Analogously, right? That sounds right. Analogously. Now you guys all know I can't read. A single quote inside a single quote charlist needs to be escaped as \single quote. Nevertheless, it is better style to change delimiters as seen above than to escape them. So Sigils also support here docs, and that is 3 double quotes or single quotes as separators. Okay, so let's go ahead and play with this example. So if we go ahead and do the lowercase s sigil, we can do a triple double quote. And then we can put our string in between here on multiple lines. So this is a here doc string. And then we want to close off that string with a closing triple double quote. And then we get our string back, and you'll see that we have our escape characters. So where we have a new line, which is like right here, you see \n. Same with the end of the string here. And I spelled here wrong. Just ignore that. So the most common use case for here doc sigils is when writing documentation. So for example, writing escape characters in documentation would soon become error prone because of the need to double escape some characters. All right, yeah, so if you want to, let's see. Oh, I need to read this again. The most common use case for here doc sigils is when writing documentation. For example, writing escape characters in the documentation soon would become error prone because of the need to double escape some characters. So we're double escaping this single quote or this double quote, and then same here. And by using a capital S, we can just do the single escape to keep the parentheses. So that's good to know. So by using the capital S sigil, the problem can be avoided. So if we were just to use our docs and we needed to have double quotes in there, we would have to double escape them for readability, which is good to know, right? And what we're seeing here is, so here's what's returned, right? We have our double quote and then single quote on either side. And when in fact, if we just do the single escape right here, we get our single quote with our escape characters. So we just had to do it once. Good to know. All right, calendar sigils. I'm not going to write this example because I'd have to start a whole project just to get some documents, and I don't want to do this in the IX shell. Sorry, guys. All right, calendar sigils. These are going to be cool. So Elixir offers several sigils to deal with various flavors of times and dates. So we have date. We have the date struct, and that contains the fields year, month, day, and calendar. You can create one using the dsigil. All right, cool. This is also, so this and regex are probably the most useful, at least in my opinion. Well, obviously charlists too, but as far as like when you're using them and manipulating. You use dates all the time. All right, so if we set we're going to bind a date to our variable d. So we're going to do sigil capital D here. And then inside of square brackets, we are going to put the date, 2019, the month, and then the day. And then close the square brackets off and hit enter. And now we have our date, and we can access the variables from it, just like saying D day, and we get 31. So that's pretty cool. D month and D year. So that's pretty sweet. And then, man, I got to stop clicking there. And then we have time. So we have the time struct contains the fields hour, minute, second, microsecond, and calendar. You can create one using the capital T sigil. So let's do that. So we're going to set a time we're going to bind it to our variable T. And then if we do sigil capital T, and then inside of square brackets, we have our, what is this? Hours, minutes, seconds, microseconds, and then we can just close the bracket off and hit enter. And then if we say T second, we get 7. So that's pretty cool. And then you can do the same thing we did with the month. So what do we have available to us here? Minute, second, and microsecond. So if we did T dot microsecond, we get 0. Well, we get a tuple back, but it's our 0. All right, let's see. Naive date and time. So we have the naive date time struct contains fields from both date and time. You can create one using the capital N sigil. All right, so this combines the two. And this, you'll see naive date timestamps often in your projects. So if we say NDT bound to our capital N sigil, we can go ahead and pass in our date. So we can say 2019, August 31st, and then we just space and we can put our time in right after. And there we go. So now we have our naive time. And why is this called naive? Because it does not contain time zone information. Therefore, the given date time may not exist at all, or it may exist twice in certain time zones. For example, when we move the clock back and forward for daylight savings time. Good to know. All right, so I think we also have, NDT dot year, okay, NDT dot hour, there you go. So it's the same, it's just the time and date combined. All right, and then we have UTC date time, and this includes a time zone. So we have the date time struct contains the same fields as naive date time with the addition of fields to track time zones. The tilde capital U, so the capital U sigil, allows developers to create date time in the UTC time zone. All right, so let's do this. I'm going to clear this. We're going to bind to our variable DT, and it's sigil, capital U, so capital U sigil. And then inside of square brackets, we can do our year, month, day, and then our time still. So everything's still the same, and seconds, and then you have the time zone at the end. And when we close that off, boom. And now what we can do is pattern match to the date time struct, and that we can say minute and then bind the minute to minute, and then we can say time zone and bind that to the variable time zone. Close off our curly braces and then match that to our DT variable we just bound. So now when I hit minute, we get 59 back, which is really cool. And then when I do time zone, we get the UTC time zone back. So that's pretty cool. Probably a little more useful than naive, but sometimes you don't need the extra information. It just depends on what you're using it for. And then there's custom sigils. As hinted at the beginning of this chapter, sigils in Elixir are extensible. In fact, using the sigil R, so the regex foo/I is equivalent to calling sigil underscore R with a binary and a charlist as an argument. So we kind of did that before. Now let's call it with, so if we just do sigil R and then we pass in a binary foo, and then inside of our options list here, we're just sending in our code point for I. And so this is equivalent to writing the R sigil /foo/I. And if you remember, I ignores, it's not case sensitive. So there, that's what it's equivalent to. So that's cool. We can access the documentation for the R sigil via sigil underscore R. So when we're in the IX shell, you can get documentation using H and then whatever function you're interested in. And there we go. We see that it's a macro and it returns regular expression pattern, unescaping characters and replacing interpolations. And then you can see some examples here. So that's really cool. Nice. All right. Where was I? Okay, so we also provide our own sigils by implementing functions that follow the sigil underscore and then character pattern. For example, let's implement the sigil I that returns an integer with the option and modifier to make it negative. Oh, this is cool. All right, we're making our own sigil. All right, I'm going to clear this so we can see what we're doing. So I hate that I'm doing this, but we're creating a module in the IX shell. So def module, and then we're going to call it my sigils. And I'm sorry if I make a typo and have to do this all over again. And then we're going to have two functions in here. So def sigil underscore I, and it's going to take a string. And then the options list is going just to be empty, if I can type. So we have our empty options there, and then do, and then all we're doing is taking a string and we're turning it into an integer. Okay, cool, easy enough. And then we're doing the same thing here. I'm going to copy and paste this so I don't make a typo and have to start over. But if we pass in an option on this one, which is we're going to be looking for the option n. So we're passing in the code point n. And then all we're doing is if we do that, we're making the integer negative. So easy enough. That's pretty cool. And then all we have to do is end this to close off this module. And I made a typo. All right, where did I make my typo, guys? Def module, sigils do, mismatch delimiter, unclosed delimiter, sigil. Oh, dang it. And I forgot to close the parentheses. See, I knew I was going to do this, guys. Oh, wait, I don't want that one. I want this one. Parentheses. I wish I just opened up Visual Studio Code. Okay, so there's that. All right, and now end. There we go. Okay. To integer. To I have a typo. Guys, I am regretting doing this not in a IDE right now. All right, to integer. Okay. I can't do that yet. Okay, we have to open up our module. You guys are just along for the ride to watch Jacob not know how to type. You're welcome. Integer. Man, struggles are real. end. Okay, I think we finally did it. All right, now we're going to import our module here. And then we can now use our I sigil. So if we do tilde I and we pass in our string of 13, it's going to return an integer 13. That's really cool. And then if we do our sigil I and pass in another number, and now after the delimiter, which is our closing parentheses, is where we pass in our options. So passing in n will now make this a negative 42. So that's pretty cool, I think. So custom sigils may be either a single lowercase character or an uppercase character followed by more uppercase letters and digits, uppercase characters and digits. Sigils can also be used to do compile time work with the help of macros. For example, regular expressions in Elixir are compiled into an efficient representation during compilation of the source code, therefore skipping the step at runtime. If you're interested in the subject, you can learn more about macros and check out how sigils are implemented in the kernel module, where the sigil _ asterisk functions are defined. That was cool. That was a lot of fun, guys. So we made it through our sigils section, and we'll eventually hit macros and stuff on here. But I know I've mentioned in the past, my course, I have an awesome meta programming section on it. So I suggest checking that out. And right now I'm running a 4th of July sale for 40% off. But since you guys are hanging out with me, and if you've watched my video this long, if you use the code SPARKS45, SPARKS 45, that's 45% off for the 4th of July. And everything's going to end on Monday. So a week from yesterday. So it'd be awesome to check it out. And I'm just about to release my Erlang interoperability module, which is kind of touches on like all the kernel stuff too. And when you don't have something that you can do in Elixir, you can use Erlang, which has a lot of things. So there's really no limitations when you start using Elixir in the Beam VM. So that section is about to be released. I've really slacked. I've promised to release it for like 2 weeks now. So sorry, guys. But anyways, thank you so much. Oh, I am not going to be doing any more lives this week because the 4th of July is Thursday, and I'm just kind of going to take a long weekend. So I hope you guys enjoy yourselves. And if you're in the US, happy 4th of July. And then there's no guest podcast on Friday, but the next one is going to be a good one. I have Andreas, and he does a lot of machine learning stuff and is like a wizard with Livebook. And I've never taken the dive to really use Livebook, so it's going to be a really good chat. And now you can also see all the events at Elixir Mentor /events. So anytime that I create a Discord event, it'll now be on my website. So that's really cool. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. And next week, oh, you know what? I got to look at my calendar. Because next week, Tuesday, I'm out of town. I'm going to be in Zion doing Mystery Canyon. So that's really cool. It's like 16 rappels, and a couple of them are like 120 feet tall. So that's kind of crazy. So I'm not going to be here on Tuesday, but let's see. Dang, maybe I will do a live stream on Friday since I'm not going to be here. I'm not back in town till Tuesday night. Yeah. All right. I'll do a live stream Friday on, what is our next section? Try, catch, and rescue. All right. We'll do that Friday. And then our next live stream will be on Thursday. next week, Thursday, and we'll do writing documentation section. And then that following Friday, we have Andreas coming on. So that'll be a lot of fun. And why'd I let myself talk myself into doing a live stream on Friday? It'll be fun. These are fun. I enjoy them. All right, guys. So I will see you again on Friday. Thank you so much. Thank you, Wasim. Enjoying the video? Show some love with a like and hit subscribe to stay updated. To support me and keep the content free, click join for memberships or pick up a course at elixirmentor.com and get free access to my private community. Let's jump back in. See you guys.